What if Anakin Skywalker became Ghost Rider on Mustafar? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Obi-Wan watches as Anakin's body begins to burn up in the lava of Mustafar, his screams echoing across the valley. He forces himself not to look back, heading back to the CIS facility. But as he reaches the top of the hills, the valley goes silent. For a moment, he thinks Anakin is finally dead and glances back. But to his surprise, he doesn't see the burnt-out husk of his former friend. Instead, his eyes widen as he watches a figure rise and walk off, the flames still burning bright around his body. The memory is seared into his head as the flaming figure of what was once Anakin steps onto the hills. The fires dissipate and reveal Anakin, perfectly normal and untouched by the fire. Although he's certain Anakin can't see him, Obi-Wan runs back to his ship to care for Padme. Meanwhile, Anakin reaches the landing pad. He finds a ship waiting for him, a sleek red and black starfighter with a flaming design. Anakin runs his hand across the hull, which feels hot to the touch.
Sweet.
He hops on board and disappears into the galaxy unknown. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan carries Padme to the medical station. As the birthing process progresses, she asks about Anakin, wondering what happened to him. Reluctantly, Obi-Wan reveals what he saw of how Anakin emerged from the flames unscathed. For a moment, Padme is overjoyed.
Then, that means he's alive. He's out there somewhere. We must find him.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. From what I've seen, that thing doesn't seem like Anakin anymore.
I know he's hurt us, but I know Anakin is still down there somewhere. If he's alive, there might still be some light in him.
If only I could believe that.
However, that knowledge seems enough for Padme to persevere through the birthing process and give birth to a healthy set of twins. They must still go into hiding with Obi-Wan, taking both Luke and Leia with him to Tatooine. But seeing Anakin emerge from the fire and knowing he's out there somewhere, Obi-Wan decides it's best to train them as soon as possible, rather than keep that part of their lives a secret. Padme, meanwhile, returns to her duties as a senator of Naboo. With the rise of the Empire, her priority is now to limit the destruction caused by Palpatine. She constantly resists bills that she believes will harm the Republic. But while that remains her public goal, she also secretly looks into old archives, trying to find any information on Anakin based on what Obi-Wan told her. Among them is Obi-Wan, who pores through surviving Jedi texts and holocrons to search for information. When not searching for answers, Obi-Wan spends his time training the Skywalkers. From there, he explains the ways of the Force to them and other necessary skills of the Jedi. As this training continues, there are strange disturbances in the Outer Rim. Reports from all across the region of a strange figure who shows up and causes destruction. They describe him as a ghostly figure surrounded by flames, or a sleek starfighter without any faction markings. Wherever either appears, destruction follows. It is almost exclusively targeted at criminal elements like slavers, crime syndicates, and gangsters. The figure wipes out entire criminal organizations. Reports include the destruction of a spice smuggling fleet by a single starfighter, the burning of a Hutt's palace, and the destruction of a slaver colony. For the Empire, though, these reports mean little, and are dubbed squabbles between criminals or vigilante activity. Secretly, Palpatine is very interested in these developments and wishes to learn more about what's happening. This only grows, as soon, even former Jedi are targeted by this mysterious Ghost Rider, with their bodies burned out and left to be found by the Imperials. And not long after, even Imperial officers and garrisons find themselves being targeted by Ghost Rider, with several Imperial garrisons wiped out entirely. For the people who suffer under Imperial rule, they see him as a folk hero, one determined to free them. This at least keeps Palpatine's attention from Obi-Wan, who trains the twins to be accomplished Jedi. Once they're old enough, they begin running operations with the Rebel Alliance, secretly sending weapons to rebel cells, helping refugees escape, and undermining the Empire. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan's research fails to yield results. Although he finds some mentions of ancient Force rituals to bring back the dead, they are incomplete and do not appear anything like what happened to Anakin. That is until he gets a secret message from none other than Darth Maul, who claims to have the answers he seeks and offers to provide them to him for a price. He requires their assistance and requests they meet him to discuss it. They agree to meet up in the First Light, the flagship of the Crimson Dawn. Although it appears like a normal pleasure yacht from the outside, as they venture inside, they see it looks closer to a military ship than anything else. Mercenaries and gangsters run back and forth, arming blasters and planting explosives across the ship. Dryden Voss escorts Obi-Wan, Luke, and Leia into a private room where Maul is waiting for them.
You took your time, Kenobi. I see you brought company. My Padawans. Nothing to worry about. On the contrary, I should be worried given how your last Padawan turned out.
Obi-Wan glares at the Sith, his fingers clenching into a fist. But Leia clears her throat.
That's enough. Maul, is it? We had an agreement, and that is all we're interested in.
A diplomat, this one is.
What my sister means is we upheld our end of the deal. Now tell me what you know of this so-called Ghost Rider.
Oh, you want to hear this. Ghost Rider isn't just some ordinary spirit. Some say he is a creation of the Sith Empire. Others claim it is an ancient Sith demon never put to rest. But he is much worse. He is a bounty hunter of death itself. Now he roams the galaxy punishing the wicked. He's already taken down 3 of my holdings. I'm next if we don't stop him.
Now what could you have possibly done to earn his wrath?
Funny. I hope your sense of humor will be intact when he arrives.
This is a trap. You brought us here to fight the Ghost Rider.
Don't act so surprised. I did say I have a price.
And give me one reason why I shouldn't gut you where you stand.
So quick to violence. Didn't they ever teach you anything about negotiation? Very well. Let me add something to our deal. Help me, and I shall show you how you can free your friend from this curse.
Before Obi-Wan can reply, alarms blare through the ship. A panicked Dryden Voss rushes into the room, his usual suave demeanor replaced with sheer terror.
Master, it's him.
Suddenly, the entire ship is rocked with explosions. Maul calls for cameras and watches as the sleek black starfighter buzzes around their ship. None of their defensive guns seem to do anything. They either miss entirely, or the ship seems to vanish under their fire as it systematically takes down all the First Light's weaponry before entering the hangar. Obi-Wan and the others can only watch as Anakin marches through the ship, his form wreathed in red flame. Blaster bolts from Maul's soldiers ping off of him while he slaughters soldiers with bony hands, ripping through their bodies and tearing them to pieces. Others are engulfed in flames or turned to stone. The soldiers fall back and try to activate their traps. Explosives are activated right under his feet, but Anakin marches through them with ease. Other times they eject parts of the ship, but neither the pressure, cold, or lack of oxygen affect him. Instead, the Ghost Rider laughs, leaping from part to part and smashing his way back onto the ship. Lastly, they open an airlock and try to suck him out, but Anakin doesn't even turn. He raises his hand toward the airlock and unleashes a burst of flames, twisting and burning the metal until it covers the opening. All the while, Ghost Rider approaches their position.
He's coming. Prepare yourselves.
The room fills with the stench of charred metal as the doors turn bright orange and begin melting into a gaping hole. A skeletal form emerges, his eyes burning an eerie, unnatural light. He points one finger at Maul.
Guilty.
Maul, Obi-Wan, Luke, and Leia raise their lightsabers, while Dryden reaches for his blaster. Anakin chuckles and reaches for his weapon. Instead of the usual lightsaber, he carries a sword of molten steel and fire. Dryden hangs back and fires at the approaching Deathbringer. Maul leaps onto the table along with Luke and Leia rushing at him. Anakin responds by sweeping his hand and unleashing a wall of flames. Maul uses his robotic legs and runs through them, kicking Anakin back and trying to swing his lightsaber down at him. The Ghost Rider blocks this attack and twists aside, throwing Maul back with the Force. The crime boss doesn't fall as Luke and Leia rush forward, swinging their lightsabers at him from opposite sides. Anakin steps back and then swings his sword. Suddenly, the weapon seems to extend and splits apart into segments like a chain as he whirls it around. Both Skywalkers must dive down to avoid the attack, while Maul uses the Force to redirect it away from him. Obi-Wan advances slowly, but Anakin forces him into the fight, whirling and directing his whip towards him. As their eyes lock, Anakin's eyes begin to blaze brighter. Obi-Wan screams as the fiery chain wraps around him, pulling him closer.
You took everything from me.
He reaches for his throat. Suddenly, Leia leaps up and slices his hand off at the elbow. Ghost Rider hisses in pain, pulling his sword back and turning to face Leia just as Luke gets to his feet and joins his sister. Anakin snarls and prepares to attack them too, but feels a strange familiarity with them as he looks into their eyes. He recognizes Padme's eyes in Leia as he realizes who these two must be. He turns to Obi-Wan with renewed anger. The flames on his head burn bright, reaching the ceiling.
My children! You took my children, Obi-Wan!
He springs forward to Obi-Wan just as Maul joins him and unleashes a flurry of attacks. The two try to defend, but the sheer fury of his movement is like nothing they've ever seen, and they're thrown back. Anakin raises the stump of his hand and watches as the skeletal hand reforms and wraps around his throat, trying to strangle him. Obi-Wan's eyes bulge as the air is cut off, leaving him squirming as he's lifted off the ground. But he's interrupted by Dryden Voss. The desperate crime boss rushes at him, firing his blaster. Though it strikes him across the chest, it barely grazes the spectral flame. Amused, Anakin drops Obi-Wan to the ground and whirls to face Dryden.
Very well. Look into my eyes.
Anakin locks onto Voss, and the penance stare ignites. Dryden Voss collapses, his scream cut short as his very essence is scorched away, leaving behind a lifeless husk. But the distraction is enough for Luke and Leia to help Obi-Wan to his feet, while Maul guides them to his escape pod. Once they are safely away, Maul raises his remote control and activates the ship's self-destruct button. The first light explodes in a blossom of orange and yellow, but from the inferno, a single ship flies off, half covered in shadows. The group escapes to Dathomir, with Anakin close at their heels. But as they settle down in the escape pod, Maul smirks as he lifts a small, twisted object from his cloak. Anakin's skeletal hand.
Why would you? I kept it after our last encounter. It's a part of him. That means all we need to do is cast a spell to separate him from that infernal spirit. Let's just hope we get to my headquarters first.
Obi-Wan nods solemnly, while Luke and Leia glance at each other.
So that thing is our father?
Yes. Or at least he will be when we're done.
How could he end up like that?
I don't know. These powers are not like anything I've ever seen.
But you think we can save him?
I'm not sure. But I hope so.
As they touch down on the surface, Maul directs them to the looming fortress that used to belong to the Night Sister clan. Even years after the battle, the place continues to emanate sickly green energy. He takes his place in the middle of the temple, setting the hand down in front of him as he begins to chant in an ancient language. The ground trembles while green energy grows stronger, pulsating with each word.
A spirit like that comes from another plane of existence, and this spell will banish him from where he came.
As the ritual intensifies, Anakin's starfighter touches down in the jungle not far away. He strides out of his ship, feeling the fires around him setting the nearby trees alight as the memories of his encounter with Obi-Wan on Mustafar are still fresh in his mind. He clenches his fists, feeling the raw heat of his hatred surging within him as he looks at his skeletal arms.
Obi-Wan.
The anger grows stronger as he thinks of everything he's lost, his wife, his children, and his future. But something else claws its way to the surface. A faint voice urging restraint, reminding him of his mission to punish only the guilty. The rider's call is insistent, anchoring him to its purpose, and warning him against harming those who have not strayed into darkness. Anakin staggers as these two sides war within his head. He tries to shake free of the rider's influence, the desire for vengeance battling the spirit's relentless demand for justice. But then he recalls his encounter with his children, and the darkness seems to grow brighter. It should have been him who raised them, who taught them the ways of the Jedi. His approach does not go unnoticed as Obi-Wan glances out the door. He tells Luke and Leia to guard Maul while he tries to buy them some time. Taking a deep breath and gripping his lightsaber, Obi-Wan steps out.
Anakin, you don't have to do this. There's still a chance to fulfill your destiny, to bring balance to the Force. Stand down, and we can find a way together.
Balance. That's exactly what I'm doing, Obi-Wan. As the Ghost Rider, I can finally right the wrongs of this galaxy. I can bring justice to those who've escaped for too long. Fix the mistakes the Jedi made.
At the cost of becoming this thing.
This thing is what the Jedi and the Republic made me into. They couldn't make the sacrifices necessary to make a true change. But I can finally make the change I wanted.
You think this is strength? Do you think Padme would have wanted this for you?
And you think I wanted this? To be some skeleton demon my whole life? I had to make this pact or die. You stole that life from me. You took them from me. You took everything from me.
Your children deserve a father. You abandoned them long before you were the Ghost Rider. You were falling to the dark side.
And now I'm back. So step aside. Or not. It doesn't matter to me.
In an instant, they're upon each other, weapons crashing together in a furious exchange. The air sizzles with energy as Anakin's chain sword pushes closer, the flames singeing the hairs on Obi-Wan's arms. But he ignores the heat and pushes Anakin back, swinging his lightsaber low. His face is a mask of grim determination as their lightsabers clash again and again. Obi-Wan fights defensively, blocking each attack and feeling the anger growing within Anakin. His attacks are not the grim but efficient movements earlier, but savage and unpredictable strikes. This makes Anakin more aggressive, but also less skilled. Rather than take any risks, Obi-Wan blocks these attacks and tries only to stay alive. This reluctance only angers Anakin further, whose rage begins to overpower the Ghost Rider. He swings his sword in a wide arc just as Obi-Wan leaps back, but Anakin thrusts his hand out and slams him against the wall. Anakin points his sword at him and unleashes the chains once again, but Obi-Wan redirects the weapon with the Force at the last moment. Suddenly, Luke and Leia join the fray, their blue lightsabers flashing as Anakin prepares to attack again. The two halt their father's relentless assault and force him back. Anakin parries their attacks effortlessly and then spins around, letting the chains form a whirlwind of fire. He then slams into the ground and sends a shockwave that throws Leia back. Luke manages to stay on his feet and dodges the follow-up strike. Rather than back down, he sprints forward and tries to close the distance. Anakin retracts his sword and blocks Luke's weapon. Sparks fly wildly as their weapons lock, and he tries to twist down, aiming to cut off Anakin's hand. However, he struggles to hold Anakin back. Seeing his son turning against him only enrages Anakin as he snarls and feels strength rushing through him. Luke begins to back down, but Leia rushes forward, swinging her lightsaber across different angles. The rapid-fire attacks combined with Luke's precision make it hard for Anakin to defend against them. Behind them, Maul completes the final incantation of the spell, the red glow of the skeletal hand now pulsing in sync with Anakin's steps. The ground trembles, and dark energy swirls around the combatants, enveloping Anakin in its grasp. He stumbles, momentarily distracted as the spell begins to take hold, struggling to retain his form as the Ghost Rider fights to stay tethered to him.
Now!
Obi-Wan, Luke, and Leia renew their attack, pushing Anakin back as he falters under the spell's weight. Although he manages to block their attacks, each blow takes a bit more strength from him as the Ghost Rider is being peeled away. Anakin staggers under the combined force of Obi-Wan, Luke, and Leia's assault, sapping his strength until his movements become sluggish and the fires melt away, being sucked out from him as if in a vacuum. His screams meld with the Ghost Riders as he struggles to define himself. Even the rage burning within him is not enough as his strikes weaken until they all stop, simply watching as the Ghost Rider clings only to Anakin by a thread as lightning shoots across the air and strikes the ground, throwing Luke, Leia, and Maul back. With Maul's concentration broken, the spell weakens and allows Anakin to catch his breath. Obi-Wan stumbles and snaps at the new threat. Palpatine walks forward, his lightsaber ignited as he smirks at them.
Oh, my dear Anakin. It seems you have found yourself on the wrong end of a fight once again. Don't worry. I'm here to help.
You mean to kill them?
So long as you obey my words.
The Emperor raises a hand, producing an ancient, glowing contract, etched with Sith symbols, its dark magic emanating a blood red.
This is a binding contract. It will make you one with the galaxy itself. Immortal and unstoppable. But to wield it, you must link yourself to me. Together we shall rule.
I've had enough of being someone's puppet, of other people deciding my destiny. I am my own master, not the Jedi or the Sith.
With a surge of strength, he pulls Ghost Rider back within himself and feels his body glowing bright.
All right. Who dies first?
He turns his attention to Obi-Wan, who is helping Leia to her feet. Anakin lunges at them, his chainsword smashing the ground between them as the two whirl and rush at him with lightsabers in hand. Meanwhile, Maul and Luke rush to face Palpatine. Seeing what they intended to do with him, Anakin allows his rage to flow through him as he swings his sword back and forth, trying to lacerate Obi-Wan. Seeing him focus on Obi-Wan, Leia rushes at him. She leaps over his next attack and then swings at his waist. Ghost Rider screams in pain, but then turns to retract his sword and tries to stab down. Leia sidesteps the attack and elbows him across the face, sending his jaw askew, though Anakin grabs it and pushes it back in place just as Obi-Wan comes from the side. The two launch a simultaneous attack on him, swapping places whenever the other one gets tired. This prevents them from faltering from the attack. Seeing this, Anakin's fury rages, and as they swap places again, Anakin stomps his foot and sends a pillar of fire. Leia, who was attempting to leap forward, now stumbles back. She blocks an overhead slash but feels a boot slamming into her chest, knocking the wind out of her. Obi-Wan tries to defend her just as Anakin predicted. He whirls and grabs Obi-Wan's arms and holds him in place as he unleashes the penance stare. A rush of painful memories floods Obi-Wan's mind, his failures in the Jedi to save Satine, allowing the Jedi to exile Ahsoka, and turning his back on Anakin. Anakin takes a grim satisfaction watching him struggle, but a voice in his mind is displeased.
Innocent.
Anakin tries to shrug it off, but it pulls back harder, trying to snap Anakin back. Ghost Rider reminds Anakin of his sworn mission. It isn't vengeance, but justice.
Innocent.
Anakin's grip falters, and he recoils, the Ghost Rider's words seeping into his consciousness. But he refuses to ease his grip until Leia rushes at him again, her eyes desperate as she tries to help break the hold. When Anakin turns to face her, he's stunned to see tears in her eyes. He turns away from Obi-Wan, his gaze dropping as he stares at his old master with new eyes. But he cannot dwell on it for long, as a blood-curdling scream fills the air. At the other side of the temple, Luke and Maul were busy facing Palpatine. Though Maul manages to slash his leg, Palpatine drives his lightsaber through the Night Brother's eye, dropping him to the ground and leaving Luke to face him alone. He tries to block the next few attacks, but Palpatine's strength is overwhelming, and he soon drops to the ground. Palpatine laughs and unleashes a barrage of lightning. The Jedi screams at his feet as electricity courses through him.
Father, help me! I still sense the good in you.
Foolish boy.
Palpatine raises his lightsaber and prepares to bring it down. but Anakin's chain sword suddenly wraps around him, causing him to hiss in pain. Anakin pulls him away from Luke and rushes at him. Palpatine tries to throw another bolt of lightning, but Ghost Rider brushes this off. When he gets close, the pair exchange a flurry of lightsaber strikes, but something stronger burns within Anakin than hate, a protective fury for his children. He lazily parries one strike and counters, his sword flashing down, and suddenly Palpatine is on the ground, his arm falling next to him, as Ghost Rider stares into his soul.
Guilty.
The eyes burn bright as Palpatine is forced to confront the deaths of millions. They burn so strongly that they begin to consume Palpatine in the fire until nothing is left. Palpatine's death is covered up, and instead stated that he simply died in a ship malfunction, covering up Anakin and Obi-Wan's roles in it. With the death of Palpatine, there remains a power vacuum in the Empire, one that Anakin uses his powers to ensure is filled by someone worthy. Working secretly with the Jedi, he ensured the moderate reform faction under Padme and Bail Organa gained power and began to improve the conditions of the Empire, and slowly returned the Republic. Seeing his success here, Anakin turns his attention back to the criminals in the Outer Rim. He cleans up whatever is left of Maul's organization and begins going after the Hutts next. But while he travels across the galaxy, he makes sure to keep in touch with Padme, Obi-Wan, and his kids, who agree to help him in his mission, providing him with intelligence and resources while he helps them wipe out the Emperor's loyalists. Although it takes some time, they can mend their relationship, and Anakin can become a teacher for his children as well, guiding them to learn new powers and help him on his mission. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.